Hello and welcome. Beretta Provost here, and the Entrepreneur Interview Series is back. And I am here at Stauffer CPA with Sam, and would love for him to share a little bit of his story and background as far as how you came to be a partner here and a little bit of your success story.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me. Really excited. So
Yeah.
let's start off.
I threw him under the bus a little bit to be on a live video. So yeah, tell us a little, tell everyone a little bit about your story, that you became a partner in a pretty short amount of time and you have a great philosophy about life.
Yeah. So it was about 4 or 5 years ago. I'd been working in public accounting for probably 6 or 7 years. And the owner at the time wanted to retire out. So, for a CPA, it's kind of early in the process to become a partner. But I was just kind of at the right place at the right time. It was a good opportunity. I decided to jump on it just because I didn't want to pass that up. And over the last 4 years, it's been a huge learning curve. A lot of people in business, especially business owners, don't necessarily go to school to get a business degree.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things that you kind of learn on the fly. And at the time we had 12 people, and now we're about 55. So we've grown significantly. And then there's a merger in there that just recently happened. So it's been a lot of work to grow and to get through all that.
Yeah. And I know you have a daily philosophy of being extraordinary, or to be. Now, tell me, where did that come from?
Life really is too short, and so it's one of those things where you want to have a good mix of going to work and making a paycheck and supporting the people around you, but then also being able to go home and live that to the fullest. And so it's hard to come to work and kind of come to work sluggishly and do an average job. And so for me, you really want to try to start every day as productive as you can be so that you could spend as much time as you can with your family and friends. And so that's always been the main goal for me.
So how do you start your mornings then?
Before probably at the beginning of this year, actually, I started out waking up a little bit late, and sometimes it'd be early, but mostly to come into work and take care of work. And then in April, I started to start doing different running events like half marathons, and then got into triathlons and Ironman events. So now my mornings, like this morning, I was up at 5 and I got on the bike and I rode however many miles, and then coming to work, and I had a meeting at 7. So now it's more health focused in the mornings, and I still start my day somewhat early. And I always try to be done as much as possible by 5 or 6. And then of course different things come up, but I try to focus more on health and start my day that way. It's a different perspective when you come to work after you have moved your arms and legs and your heart and your mind, and everything's kind of moving, and you show up at 8 o'clock and you're ready to go, rather than showing up and kind of getting a cup of coffee and slowly getting through the motions. You waste a lot of your day just waking up,
right?
Starting out at 8.
So would you trade that now? So now that was this something you think you would do regularly, even if you said, okay, tomorrow I'm not doing Ironmans anymore?
Yeah, I'm way more productive for sure. And so I always tell people, my mind is like, if it was kind of spinning before, it's spinning like 10 times faster. So no, it's a huge disadvantage, I think, to not start your day properly. And there's a lot of stuff out there about how you start your day. I try to drink a lot of water, get hydrated because you weren't hydrated overnight, and then eat the right food, have a cup of coffee, work out. And then by the time I show up to, at 8 o'clock or whatever it is, my day is already a few hours in. So for sure, it's a very productive way to do that.
Absolutely. I don't start out with a workout, but I do set time aside to read. And I just read 2 books that Sam had recommended, which was E-Myth and Spin Selling.
Yeah.
So, but I love flying through. That's like the me time to help me wake up and get my mind going. And so I know you work with obviously tons of businesses here. what if you had somebody who was maybe getting started in business or they have an established business? That's a lot of the audience that I have. What are a couple of things you might tell them as you've had your business journey and then thinking about other entrepreneurs?
I mean, I think a lot of it, and I have helped a lot of businesses. I mean, they're friends of mine that, some of them start out now, they had just themselves and they're thinking about taking on debt to now, they have 20, 30, 40 people. So I'm very used to that. And, the biggest thing that I have found is that the more organized and well balanced the leader, entrepreneur, owner is, the more successful the business will become. It's because the business is almost a reflection of who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a big thing for me is if I'm in meetings and we're not writing things down and not following up on them, then it's not a very productive meeting because I am not a very productive person. And so, that's really the biggest. It's a very basic thing, and I think it's probably the number one most commonly overlooked aspect is we're always looking externally to shape things, change things, improve communication, but we are kind of a disorganized mess. And so I think when we're that way as people, it's hard for us to lead a group.
Well, so what's one thing that you found or that it's actionable? So if you say get organized, then what does that look like?
I mean, probably the number one thing is having one list and sticking to that list. And so I tried, all these fancy digital books and my computer, and my phone just was not very successful. Anytime I'm in a meeting with a successful person, almost always, 99% of the time, they have a notebook and a piece and a pencil or paper.
Oh, good. Yeah. See, I have a notebook and a piece of paper, so I can check. But that's true.
No, I mean, it's very critical because it's I have a running list, and so I have one notepad, and I used to have multiple. It's a mess. So you just have one notepad, and you just have like line items. So you have tasks, different items that you write down, and you don't get rid of that notepad. You don't do anything with it. You scratch out those items as you're completing them. And once you have, for me, once I have like 80% of my page is primarily scratched out, I'll rip it out, write out the 20-ish% that are left on a new piece of paper and just keep going. And that seems to be one of the best ways to make sure that everything is getting done. Because I mean, it's not a great thing when as a leader you hear things or you're expected to do things and then you don't execute them or complete them or see them through to completion, because then people start to kind of somewhat question your ability to do a good job. And so I always tell people, I have to be held to the highest standard, because everyone will hold me to the highest standard. Even if they're not held to that, they're still looking at me to cut their paycheck and make sure that everything I say will get done is getting done.
And so that's a great tip as far as having the pen and paper. And I have a thing, I like to call it the brain dump, which is, that's where all those things go. And I even like the old fashioned little like check box, okay, or cross it out like you said. And then is there anything else that you would tell a business owner? So like get organized. I heard you say like you are the example. So you want to make sure you're not letting anything fall through the cracks.
I mean, probably time management. That again, like these are textbook things that are so basic. But again, I see them as like major flaws in a lot of leaders or business owners because they weren't really taught to do that. But there's a lot of wasted time. And so people will spend a lot of time in meetings, a lot of time writing these emails. But really, it's about when I show up to work, every hour or every minute that you're spending wasting time, it's eventually costing somebody something. And usually it's your family, your free time. I can't take vacations, I'm too busy. But if you really look at what you're doing, you're spending a lot of time during the day unproductively. And what I usually do is I keep a log of what I do every day. And then I look at that at the end of the week. I'm like, wow, I wasted a lot of time dealing with this issue. But as human beings, we don't really, it's hard. We don't go back and analyze our day or our week or our month or our year. We just generally know what happened. And that's kind of tricky to say that was an unproductive series of events that I shouldn't have participated in. So you have to, instead of looking at other people and giving them performance evaluations, you have to have a way of doing that for yourself. And time management is like, that's probably one of the biggest areas that people really struggle with. They think they're being productive with it, but they're not. And usually meetings are a good sign of wasted time. I mean, meetings are great. We should have them, but we should go in and have executable, actionable items, and they should be quick. But what we tend to do is sit there and just go back and forth for hours. So that's not a productive use.
Yes. So we had a half an hour meeting. And we won't. And I think that that's totally true. And then one of the books that I just most recently read was Clockwork. And they talk a lot about that. One of the first things that he talks about is tracking your own time, especially as the owner. You know, we are so much into tracking, and I know I do too, have our team members that track their hours and what are they doing. And I know he breaks it down. A big part of it is you have to be designing the business part of it always as a leader or an owner. And I thought that was really one of those points where I thought, oh, this is, you know, hits me like a ton of bricks, where it's like, I'm not having the time to design the business that I want. I'm doing all the time. And I know eMyth, they use the technician, they have a different word for it, but it's kind of similar. So do you have any, so you're keeping track of it, and then any other time, did you have any aha moments when you kept track of it for yourself? So you said meetings, was there anything else?
I mean, you know, it's good and bad, but a lot of times people want to spend time talking to other people outside of meetings. And I think as a business owner or leader, we feel like we need to give them that time, because we don't want to be above that, right? We want to participate. We want to be interactive, but we have a huge list of things to do. And so I think it's managing the time that we spend with people. It's like, hey, you know, I'd love to talk to you. I have 15 minutes. Let's go ahead and what do you want? What are you dealing with? Instead of it just being kind of a more of a drug out conversation. So really it's us as leaders controlling those conversations that we're having.
I like that as well. So there were some really great tips here as far as being a business owner, and, you know, whether that's starting out or continuing along with your business. And I know I heard a long time ago too, especially if you know, if you have clients that you know, or maybe team members or employees that really like to chit chat, when you preface the conversation with, hey, I only have 10 minutes, or hey, I only have 15 minutes, be like, you know, hey, Joe, great, I'm so glad you called. I just have a few minutes, you know, to chat with you. It can change, and you set the expectation.
Yep.
And then you don't seem like so rude to be like, oh, I gotta go.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of quotes online. I think there's a recent one, but basically, the one thing that we eat away at is time, and so I mean, then we can't buy more of it. And so the more productive you are with that time, the better off you'll be, because it runs out. There's no stopping it. It just keeps coming down, right? It keeps shrinking every day, every month, and so it's just part of the deal. So if you can't manage that properly, it's hard. I mean, people always want me to give accounting tips and all this other stuff, but again, you know, you can save a little bit of money here and there, or make a little bit of money here and there. But if you can't organize your time, there's only so much that you can do because you have limited time.
Absolutely. And I know myself as a business owner, that's one of the things. Well, so getting that under control, but also thinking about, I feel like, and I'm sure I'm not alone with a lot of other business owners, like, oh, I have so much on the list to do today, or when do I ever get caught up? And so I know for me, if setting some reasonable expectations about what you can get done in a day, which I tend to be like, I can get so much done, but really it's probably like 3 to 5 really important tasks that you have to get done, and making sure that you keep track of your own time. And certainly if anyone would like, I have a pretty easy spreadsheet I can give you to keep track of your own time. I'm sure you have great spreadsheets to keep track of something. I'll keep track of lots of things, but where I'm even keeping track of my own time and what projects I'm working on. So, well, thanks for spending a few minutes and sharing with the audience. Entrepreneur series is the interview series is back. Have some more amazing entrepreneurs that I will be sharing here on my Facebook page, as well as LinkedIn and the YouTube channel. So with that, thanks so much for your time, this 15 minutes, and signing off until next time.